like to call this regular city council meeting, October 6, 2014, to order. Please turn off your phones or silent them. In the absence of the council president, I would like to have a motion to elect a council president pro tem.
I would like to nominate Stan Peterson.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Oh, yeah.
Well, at least you didn't throw it.
Flag salute. Council Smart, would you lead us, please?
Yep.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Didn't give you a chance to stand up.
Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Thank you. Do we have approval of the minutes for September 18th, 2014 special council meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor? Petitions, communications, and citizens' requests. Is there anybody from the audience that'd like to talk about something that's not on the council agenda? Reports. Council President has none. Standing committees, Finance, Public Administrative, Economic Services, Landfill, Legislature, Sewer, Airport, or Housing Subcommittees. City Councilors.
Yes, I had some things I want to.
Councilor May?
Yes, thank you. On behalf of the Riverfest Committee, I'd like to thank everybody for such a successful event. It was great. Special thanks to all our sponsors for helping making it happen. There really was such a great event and such a community spirit, and the city helped out so much. Chief O'Malley, thank you for making the fireworks happen all the time, and it's always a challenge, but we get them off every year, and they are terrific. The crowd really loves them. The Public Works made downtown and the park look wonderful. Everyone helped out, and the Y did our games. I've put a letter on behalf of the committee in the paper this week to just thank everyone. If we've forgotten anyone, it's not on purpose, because we appreciate all the help we got. So thanks for a great Riverfest. I also had a couple of other things I wanted to bring up. Lori and I got this picture, and it's the one, David, that we had to you from the 25 Leonard Lane property. I did take a walk up by there this weekend, and they had it looked pretty nice, but it was homecoming weekend, and I guess they cleared the trash out. Guess the problem is they clear it out and then they let the trash collect them back, and I wonder how we police that, and in general. And there are 5 unrelated people living in that house with 3 bedrooms and 1 bath. Now, don't we have an ordinance or something to prohibit that?
Yeah, Dave Russell, code officer. I contacted, I left a card in their front door. Dana contacted me, and then I texted him back to tell him what the issue was, and he sent me back one that they'd taken care of it. I didn't get a chance to go up today.
Uh-huh.
As for the 5 unrelated, yes, you can only have 3 unrelated persons living with you. Now, that's not to say that 2 of them couldn't be brothers. You can still have 3 unrelated, but I'll check with their landlord on that.
Yeah, and we did have the property manager, and I don't know if those are the people we contact, or I don't know.
Do you have that contact information?
Yes, I did email it to you too,
Okay.
and I do have it, but I'll re-email it.
No, if it was the one with the picture attached,
Yep.
then I have that.
SI Associates.
We'll get on it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And the other thing, I don't know if you people saw, if the counselors saw this letter to the editor in the paper a couple of weeks ago, but it's about the Stillwater Bridge.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, and from Chris Avila wrote about the Stillwater Bridge. And I don't think we notice the bridge when we're going across it because, you know, we just go and we take it for granted. But when you do walk across it, it's in bad shape. I know it's not our bridge or our responsibility, but Chris has suggested, and maybe I'm wondering, can we, as a council, as a city, just say that, you know, we know the bridge is really in bad shape and kind of push that
Well,
along?
they've been up with engineers and inspected the bridge, so if a state bridge engineer says that it's safe, I don't believe that I'm qualified to disagree with them.
No, I don't. I don't think we're denying that it's, but it is the main entrance for us into.
Oh, absolutely, and that's been on a to be fixed list here that actually wasn't going to be fixed until probably 2023 or so, and that's been moved up now because they requested information from the city on that bridge, and they're doing traffic counts right now, so that's been bumped up, and they're talking about doing some engineering on it this coming summer, and so hopefully by 2017 they're talking about redoing that bridge. So I don't know how we move the state faster than that. They moved it up about 6 years sooner than what they thought they were going to do it as. I know it's a big issue for the University of Maine also, because whenever we meet with them, I mean, they're complaining to the state equally as much.
Yeah, I think we get used to it. You know, we go over it all the time, we get used to it, but when someone's coming in, and it is kind of like the gateway, one of the gateways to Old Town, and it is certainly not attractive.
Yeah. Oh, I agree.
Okay, that's all.
Any other councilors?
As a resident that lives right next to that bridge, as well as the person who wrote the letter to the editor, the concern is there. I would say that anybody who drives by that railing, I mean, I would be concerned with my kids walking over it. There's so many rust and exposed sharp edges, and just it's a mess.
Yeah.
So it's something that anything we can do to put pressure on them would help, I think.
It is horrible.
It's a mess.
Yep.
So
I will keep complaining, as I do on that bridge quite often when I talk to them, so.
Do we, hold on one second, do we have any update on the Gilman Falls Bridge, how long that's gonna take? 'Cause I thought it was
Well,
just an inspection. and then-
it was supposed to be, and then like everything else, when they get into these bridges, there was a lot more things wrong than they thought there were,
Okay.
especially with the joints on the bridge, so it is taking longer.
Okay.
Councilor.
Linda, you can come in. I was also looking at the money carry forward, and we had talked about the comprehensive plan. And I know that there was at some time that we were supposed to be getting some bids in regards to some help. So I was wondering, where are we now with that?
Yeah, David's reviewed the previous plan. There's some milestones that we were supposed to have met, which we have. He sent that RFP out to Eric. Eric's looked at that. Dave has it back, and we're pretty much ready to send that out now. We're hoping to do that in conjunction with the downtown planning grant at the same time, because that can kind of dovetail into that whole overall comprehensive plan for the city.
Good.
So that'll be coming up here this fall.
Well, that was one of the committees that I said I'd like to be on, and, you know, if I don't win re-election, I'd still like to be on as a community member.
Yep.
So, if that's possible.
Other councilors? City attorney?
I just have one item that the city manager handed me tonight about 15 minutes ago, and I'll go over that briefly with you in the executive session.
Thank you. Special committees? City manager?
Just a couple things. The boiler's down at the pool, if you hear about that. We're working on it. It is gonna be a little while, probably the end of the week, before we can get heat back in the building or the pool. So they're doing everything they can to rectify it, but it's gonna be a little delay here before we can get that done. The traffic lights up on Stillwater Avenue, the state came back with their final cost on that. It rose considerably from their $9,400 estimate to around $22,600 is what the cost is for the traffic lights. They, once they had the traffic engineer look at it, they were estimating 5 lights at $3,000 apiece, and they ended up being 7 lights at just over $4,000 apiece. And they still only pay for the loops they were gonna have in the road, which is about $5,600 that they would be willing to pay towards that cost. Again, I sent them back an email and said, wasn't very happy with that and disappointed at the cost difference, and
So we're gonna pay the 17,000?
the 22,600 to
We're gonna
have,
pay the 22,600.
to have traffic lights, if we want the camera-operated ones.
So when is the estimate timeframe for that?
They would start on that tomorrow if I tell them we're going ahead with that. My assumption is we're gonna put traffic lights up there. We don't want timed ones hanging, I don't believe, and loops that they put in the road always end up breaking because of frost or whatever, so we want the, traffic flow to be better up there. I don't see that we have much choice, and, it's too bad. I mean, I've talked about that before. Bax doesn't even allow loops in the road. The state did a almost $5 million project up there and never looked at traffic lights. And now they're saying, if you want loops back in the road, that was in our plan, so you can have loops in there, but nobody puts those in anymore. Transfer station, we're working with CES on the possible CDD landfill section there, of getting that buttoned up for next year. Hopefully, at the next committee meeting, we'll have some information to bring back from CES on that. Jefferson Street, we're trying to work towards getting that winterized. Ron and I have a meeting with Old Town Housing Authority on Friday to try to clarify what they wanted to do at that site. I know there's been some talk about, the types of apartments that may go there, whatever, and we've got a meeting scheduled on Friday to get clarification on that, so we can report back what they actually want to do there, if they're one of the people who had an opportunity to do something there. And that's it for me.
Do we need a motion on the 22,600? Is that something you can just do?
No, I could bring that, as long as I knew that you were okay with that happening, I could bring it to the, to the October, the next meeting. We have a special meeting on that to vote that through.
It's next week.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Next Thursday.
So I just bring that back as an agenda item for you guys to vote on if you want to. As long as I knew that, if you
We
tell
need
me.
a straw poll or?
Yeah, I mean, maybe if you
A
take a
nod
straw
of the head
poll.
or something?
Have you been up there? I think it needs to be done personally.
Yeah.
Well, of course, you got a business sitting there, no.
Well, tell me how it's going to be different. I
Well,
don't
right
wanna-
now, I mean, those lights that are up there, it's a combination of loops that are in the road. And right now, the loops aren't obviously working, so they're just on timer. And part of the time that they've been up there, they've been on timers because those loops break in the road and they don't work. Now they'll actually have a camera that will recognize traffic. They're putting in an extra, it's an indicator, it's infrared, I believe, that will sit over at the intersection of the K-5 school and the Dunkin' Donuts on that intersection. And that will control those lights at that intersection, and the same thing up at the College Ave and Stillwater intersection. And that will all be camera controlled, so that's just recognized by how many cars are coming in each direction. And the lights will operate that way instead of on a loop system or just on a timer. It should make the traffic flow there much better, because people won't be sitting there in line. I mean, if there's a bunch of traffic traveling one way, those lights aren't gonna change for 2 cars sitting there. I mean, that's some of the biggest complaints I get, is some people pull up there to turn at the lights, and there's either no cars traveling, or there's only 2 cars sitting there. That should alleviate a lot of that problem.
Is going out? Is it going out of town that the biggest problem is?
Going out or coming in?
Well, it all
Well-
depends. Either it's-
Right.
Yeah, well, but I mean, I know the traffic is bad, but it seems to me it's worse leaving in the morning than it is coming home at night.
Depends on if you're up there at 2:30.
Yeah,
it's
you
Oh, well,
bad.
2:30 it's bad, but it's 2:30 it's bad all over town.
Right.
And it's 7:30. I was just curious, because will it make it any easier to get out of those businesses on the, when you're going against traffic?
Well,
See,
like I
that's-
said, with the cameras up there, I mean, hopefully, they'll recognize the traffic flows, and it should help, it should help alleviate that some. I mean, it's still a very busy,
It's a
very
busy road.
It's 20,000 cars a day on it, so it's
Yeah.
gonna be a little bit congested no matter what.
is.
But it should help.
So I'm thinking, I don't, honestly, I don't travel it that much, so I'm not aware, but times I've been, it's been doable, so I'm not gonna argue with those that travel it a lot more than me. I wouldn't argue with that.
So we're saying lights at Hannaford, lights at Dunkin' Donuts, and lights at McDonald's
It would be,
Cameras.
it would be,
Said 7.
yeah, there's 7 cameras going in.
at those 3 intersections?
Yep.
Okay, I gotta go back. So if we have that going, is that gonna eliminate the problem backed up in Milford? Or not?
Well, I mean, potentially, if you can keep traffic flow better.
Okay.
I mean, there's nothing going on down here at, on this end. Again, that's all loops and stuff, but I think a lot of the bottleneck you get is the
Right
bridge conversation we had earlier, which you're talking about, when they replace that bridge, making it wider and doing some different things there. So until that bridge actually gets replaced, I think you're still gonna get some congestion right in that spot.
Yeah.
So is that a nod yes or a nod no?
I won't be here next week. I'll be in Alaska, but I think it's a good idea, because I travel that road. I try to get on the road by early so I just can go to Dunkin' Donuts to get my coffee, and if I'm after 6:30 at all, I wait a long time.
What's the expected lifespan of this equipment? I mean, are we looking at something that's a 10-year, what is the replacement on that?
Well, I don't know that. I do know that as far as working on them, they can send up a person in a bucket truck and they can work on them very easily versus like the loops. You get one of those broken, you gotta grind out the road to get into where you can fix it. Versus they send somebody up in a bucket truck if there's a problem with those, and
It can get fixed, it's a year-round,
yes.
can't,
Yep.
like in the wintertime, you know?
Yep. Yep.
Let's try it, see what happens.
Okay.
Consent agenda. Do we want to pull item number 6 out of that?
Yes, please.
Could you give us a motion then, please, Council McLeod?
Want me to read them? You gotta read the first part first, though.
I do? Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby,
No, what?
Okay. That paper that I gave you,
wasn't the one I should have, huh?
well, I did that just to help you read the motion.
Oh,
So you're the
sorry.
President Pro Tem, if you'd like, you can give that paper to Councilman Cloud.
Oh, I see, because you get them all, I really could do that. I don't know.
She reads this.
Okay, we'll give it to her, because I'm not reading the motion.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves the suggested motions under new business items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7 as presented. The new business, the first one is approval of an application for a major event permit for the Old Town Rotary Club. Number 2, issuance of the municipal warrants for the November 4th, 2014 regular municipal election. Number 3, setting hours for the registrars of voters. Number 4, a renewal application for liquor license and special amusement permit for the Old Town Knights of Columbus. Excuse me. Number 5, a renewal application for the Malt Vinea Spirituous liquor license and special amusement permit for the Old Town Lodge of Elks, number 1287. Number 7, issuance of the municipal quitclaim deed to release the clear title to Joshua L. and Sarah A.
Reset.
Reset, thank you, Hatch, for property located on 48 Gilman Falls Avenue.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Point of information. Number 7, up in the top, it says 48 Gilman Falls Avenue, and in the suggested motion, it says 54 Spring Street. Which one are we talking about?
Supposed to be
It should
48.
be Gilman Falls.
Okay. Which is what Linda
I
said?
said, yeah.
Yep, okay.
Good read.
All those in public hearings? The city council will conduct a public hearing on a new application for a vicular's license for Hogan's of Maine LLC, doing business as McDonald's on 933 Stillwater Avenue. I'd like to open the public hearing. Any comments from anybody on that? I'd like to, yep.
I just want to say they're under new ownership. McDonald's.
Really?
Yeah, it used to be owned by Doug Quaglioli.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And evidently he's sold it.
Any other comments? If not, I'd like to close the public hearing. The city council will consider approval of a new application for a vicular's license for Hogan's of Maine LLC, doing business as McDonald's. Suggested motion, Councilor Nuttall.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves a new application for a victor's license for Hogan's of Maine LLC, doing business as McDonald's, 933 Stillwater Avenue.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed?
No, I'm not opposed, but I thought we.
Second.
Second, that was a second.
Second.
That's what I was missing.
I'll
I was a
second
little
it.
confused. I'll second it, though.
Okay, great. Sorry. I'm not used to this
I'll
job.
vote for it, too, by the way.
Do I need to redo that?
We're good.
The city council will conduct a public hearing on a proposal to add medical marijuana registry dispensaries and a medical marijuana cultivation facilities to the Old Town zoning ordinance, and amended sections 102 definitions, Exhibit 1, 104.11 off-street parking, 20, Exhibit number 2, and 111.6 highway commercial, 5.3, Exhibit number 3 pertaining to the same. I'll open the public hearing.
This where I just talk?
Yep. Come up to the microphone, please, and
Okay.
state your name and where you're from, address.
Hey there, Dick Polk, I live on Kirkland Road, 643 Kirkland. Can you just explain what this is? Because I don't know.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name.
Richard Polk, Kirkland Road. Is this just the zoning part of this? Is that what this is? The exhibits, where are they?
Yeah, I have them here. Basically, I can drag, as you know, we had a couple of grower operations that one was in place downtown and one was proposing to come. We didn't feel that downtown area was an appropriate place for that type of use. And at the time, it wasn't allowed, so we issued the 180-day moratorium. They've ceased and desist. Looking forward, I looked at other communities that were prepared for that type of use, and it deals with the parking arrangements. It would all have to come in for site plan approval through the planning board, and then obviously on to council. And it's just following the criteria that they have to abide by. For the parking, there's screening requirements that we want this to be visible. The only location, there can only be one facility in town. The location would be along Stillwater Avenue. There's also additional restrictions. Has to be can't be within 1,000 feet of a pre-existing public or private school, and that distance is measured from door to door as you would walk or drive. Can't be located within 500 feet of a pre-existing church, synagogue, or other facility for religious worship, pre-existing private residence, licensed daycare. Again, there's only one allowed. It goes on to talk about security, surveillance, the length of time it has to be capped, no on-site consumption, or no on-premise consumption. Everything has to be locked up in a safe at night. It's just so if somebody wants to come, we have some control over what they can do and where they can go. If you want a copy of this, I can make sure you get one. Does that answer any questions you might have?
Not a whole lot. I haven't done a research on this yet, what Old Town wants, but I would just caution the council what happened in Bangor with the methadone clinics. Thank you.
Thanks. Next. That's you. You're next.
I'm next.
Oh, you're supposed to give me a comment.
Well, are there any further comments from the council, or what to ask Mr. Russell?
Well, I know we put a moratorium in place so would put this in, and I guess the question I would have is this something that, with state law, that because of the law authorizing medical marijuana, we're required to have? Is it something we're required to do? To have, if someone wants a dispensary in town, is this something that we have to do?
Can you answer that, Mr. Russell?
You could ask
What was the
Eric.
question? I'm sorry.
No, that's all right,
Maybe we
I'll
wanna
speak.
Ask the city attorney also. The question was, are we required by the state to have one of these in town, or can we just ban them, period?
You could ban them, period. I'm more afraid of a court battle that it may ensue, but
Well, not to Eric Stumfeld, city attorney, not to disagree with the code officer, where you have a state statute that authorizes these facilities, a total ban might be held by the courts to be void as contrary to the purpose of the state law. The ordinance is an opportunity to try to regulate them now that the state law is allowing them. I would offer an editorial comment that this is all Alice in Wonderland stuff anyway, because these clinics are still in violation of an unenforced federal law against distribution and possession of marijuana. Near as I can tell, states do not have to make marijuana illegal simply because the feds do. At least one court has upheld schemes for licensing medical marijuana users so they don't get arrested for their use. But no court has yet tested whether a statewide scheme of actually licensing the providers is facilitating marijuana distribution in a way which would be preempted under federal law. And no court's tested that because the feds simply aren't enforcing their law. So again, this is all bizarre stuff. But in general, where a municipal ordinance frustrates the purpose of a state law, the courts will declare that ordinance to be preempted and beyond the municipality's home rule authority. So if we totally ban them, a provider could sue the city and would have a likelihood of winning a judgment that we were frustrating the purpose of state law and therefore preempted. If we have no ordinance, we have no control other than the general zoning requirements, and this is not a use category which currently exists within your zoning ordinance. So there's all sorts of questions about where they can locate, which prompted the moratorium in the first place.
When you said this had to be on Stillwater Avenue, is that because of zoning?
that was the zoning district that the planning board and myself and talking with Eric and the city manager that we found would be a good place. The police travel Stillwater Avenue more than probably any other street in the city, so again, with the screening requirements, so that it is visible, they have a good idea. In reading through it, the waiting area, there'll be no queuing outside. The waiting area, how many they're licensed for, the waiting area has to be able to facilitate those people being inside at all times that they're there.
So I guess the next question I have is, you know, we start down this road, what if a methadone clinic wants to come to town? Where do we sit on that?
If
Is
they
that
want to
something-
come in town today, we have nothing to stop them.
Yes, those cases have been litigated, and the federal statute is controlling, and if you prohibit methadone clinics in zones that are otherwise authorized for medical facilities, you will be sued if someone wants to locate here, and that suit will be successful. So they have a far clearer status under federal law than these clinics do.
I believe that you'll find that Bangor, when their first clinic came in, that was the situation they found themselves. They had no stay in it.
So I guess we're saying that by putting this in place, it gives us a stronger position to control location in terms of operation and business.
Correct. And I know I had some conversations with the city solicitor and also my planning board as to limiting it to one. I don't feel we need more than one. I don't know if we'll ever get one that will be legally operated. By limiting it to one, if a facility wanted to fight, if one was in town and another facility wanted to, basically their best shot would be under Americans with Disability Act, which is a federally regulated statute. So the feds aren't going to be so apt to fight to have another one when they don't even recognize the fact that Maine allows medical marijuana.
So I guess the question I have is how can we limit it to Stillwater Avenue?
Because that's the zoning district I've designed it for. Just like you can only have churches in the R2 and R1 zones.
But that's a commercial zone, if you will. That's the only commercial zone we have in town?
That's the only ones, unless you want it downtown.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, those are the only two zones we have, Stillwater Avenue and the C1 zone right here in the immediate downtown.
So would the setbacks that you've put in there eliminate it from being downtown?
Downtown's
What's that
not
setback?
downtown is not zoned for it.
It's not zoned. for it.
Strictly Stillwater Avenue. From basically the shopping plaza to College Avenue.
It'd be farther than that because the elementary school there, and you've got to be 1,000 feet from,
Right.
and the YMCA,
Churches,
Mhm.
the churches.
it is churches there.
Pre-existing residences.
Pre-existing
That's right,
residence.
yeah.
Mhm.
Is there a star where it would go?
If I may, on that question, yes, it is simply a matter of local zoning policy where you allow these facilities to locate. The state's medical marijuana statute does preserve municipal home rule as to those types of decisions. It does say that you can decide where to put them and impose reasonable restrictions on them, that sort of thing. But again, if you decided to ban them altogether, you're probably frustrating the purpose of state law, so you'd have some issues there. I had the same questions about whether you could limit it to one. If this were any other type of business that was not in violation of federal law, that might create some issues, both under ADA and also under what's called the latent commerce clause as a restraint on interstate commerce. But again, that's an argument under the federal Constitution, and you at best might get a state court judge to pay attention to it, but you're not going to get much traction in federal courts where these facilities violate federal law.
Any further comments? If not, I would close the public hearing. The City Council will consider scheduling a second reading for final approval of the proposal to add medical marijuana registered dispensaries and medical marijuana cultivation facilities to the Old Town zoning ordinance. Council McLeod?
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves scheduling a second reading for final approval of October 16th, 2014, on a proposal to add medical marijuana registered dispensaries and medical marijuana cultivation facilities to the Old Town zoning ordinance and amend sections 102 definitions, Exhibit 1A, 104.11 off-street parking, 20, and Exhibit number 2, and 111.6 highway commercial, subsection 5, paragraph 3, Exhibit number 3 pertaining to the same.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? New business? Item number 6, the council will consider authorizing the finance director to carry forward the following balances to municipal general fund accounts and pollution control accounts. This is an annual year-end accounting authorization. Councilor May?
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves authorizing the finance director to carry forward funds in the municipal general fund accounts and pollution control accounts as listed in attachment 2.
Any discussion?
Second.
I have a second.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor?
No discussion.
No discussion.
Councilor McLeod?
Just that, I want to make sure, all, the money that is being carried forward stays in the accounts that listed, the department and the code, they stay in that account.
Yes.
So if we're looking at the capital projects comprehensive plan that we've talked about, there's actually $25,597.30 in that.
Yep. Because if we didn't carry those numbers forward, they would automatically go into the general fund. So that would just take that right out of there if we didn't move that forward.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha. The rest of it does go in.
Yep.
All the, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask how much is going in the general fund?
Question.
We just worked on the audit this week. I don't know.
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I guess I can't ask that then, can I?
You can, I can find out for you. You want to know?
I could email you an answer tomorrow.
That'd be great, thank you. The question that I had that I asked earlier was on the pollution control carry forward, and I asked Mr. Mayo why we were carrying forward the composting account, because we no longer have a compost facility. We've done away with that, and basically what he said was we're not budgeting any more money to that. We're just carrying it forward for the monitoring because we have pumps and catch basins and stuff like that. And we need to maintain that somehow, so they're gonna keep carrying that money forward instead of budgeting it until it runs out. Any other questions?
These accounts really are the council's decisions. I put together the list because it's based on what we've done in prior years. But the strategy behind it is capital accounts tend to last more than 1 year or may not be done in 1 year, and so that if you don't carry over the funds, you can't do those projects in the future. There's only a few accounts that don't meet that criteria, and they're all on the city side, such as the safety incentive wellness program, economic development, and I think we all understand what those are for. So.
No other questions? All those in favor? Thank you. The council will consider accepting a bid from Wright Pierce in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for a revitalization plan for the downtown area. Councilor Roach?
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby accepts a bid from Wright Pierce in an amount not to exceed $25,000 for a revitalization plan for the downtown area. Funds are to come from the Old Town Development LLC Reserve Account number 03450.
I'll second.
We have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor? The city council will consider authorizing the city manager to take all the necessary steps to complete the transfer of the Jefferson Street School building from RSU 34 to the city of Old Town. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby authorizes the city manager to take all necessary steps to complete the transfer of the Jefferson Street School Building from RSU number 34 to the City of Old Town and to execute all necessary documents to complete the transfer.
Do we have a second?
A second?
We have a second. Any discussion?
Is there a cost associated with the transfer, or is it just paperwork?
It's paperwork. Should be pretty minimal, actually. Obviously, the cost is we get the building. We're working on winterizing. I don't think that's gonna be that bad to do that. John's already had Eastern Fire up there, and they've looked at the sprinkler system, and he's gone around and looked at securing the doors, and some of the windows are on the back side of the building there. They're at ground level. Probably get out of it for $5,000 or $6,000 to winterize it.
Are we doing something about the roof?
We're trying, looking at that also, trying to figure out some way to get a temporary patch up there just to get us through the winter.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? The City Council will consider going into executive session for the purpose of discussing the Old Town Fuel and Fiber Mill closure. Councilor May.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves going into executive session pursuant to Title I MRSA 4056C for the purpose of discussing the Old Town Fuel and Fiber Mill closure.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? We'll take a 5-minute break.